Hi, I'm Soudy Khan, Director of User Experience at Neuron. Today I'm going to talk about the world's greatest user experiences and what we can learn from those and how we can take some of the things that they've done in their development process and their outcomes and apply them to modern user experience. So when people often ask me this question, what's the greatest user experience? I often look back at them and say, well, what do you think it is? And they'll say something like, oh, I think it's Spotify, or it's Uber, they do a really good job, or Instagram, or Airbnb, or Pinterest. And I'll say, well, you ever watch a kid watching Finding Nemo for the first time? Or do you remember watching Good Will Hunting for the first time? Or Star Wars: A New Hope? Or how about Lord of the Rings? I mean, those things really, those films really take you on a journey. They draw you in, they take you on an emotional roller coaster. They are amazing experiences. Spotify is cool, it really is, but compared to Lord of the Rings, I don't think there really is a comparison. So I would argue that modern film, which has its roots in Greek theater 2,500 years ago, and that modern architecture, which has its roots in Egypt 4,700 years ago, and fine dining, which has its roots in Europe more than 200 years ago. Those are really, really great experiences. And there's a couple things we can learn from those experiences. First, they have a single person overlooking the entire experience. So we don't do this so much today. Some companies practice this quite well. Where like Apple, for example, where there's someone sort of overseeing and calling the shots in the end. It doesn't mean that that director of a film is a mean person saying, do this film my way, but the director of a film ultimately makes all the calls, makes the decisions. A good director is listening. They're working in conjunction with the rest of the team members. They're working hand in hand. They're listening to the actors, to the producers, to the DP. They're working with the editors and the composers in post. But ultimately, we've decided that a single person in these things, such as architecture and film and theater, a single person calling the shots ultimately is best, because design by committee does not work. And in the end, to have something that's coherent and cohesive is the best thing. So that's, I think, the first point that we can learn. The other thing that we can learn is that you need to maintain a tone. If you can imagine, a typical film is about 45 scenes. And if something was very dramatic and serious, and all of a sudden you threw in a scene that was slapstick comedy, it wouldn't make any sense. And that goes the same with our user experience, especially when we have so many channels now that we have to deliver that user experience through, and so many touch points with the consumer. So we need to maintain, again, that tone and that feel. Last thing I would say, point number 3, is to take the users on a journey. Not in every case, but in most cases, it makes sense to take them on a journey, to have that beginning, that middle, that end, to have that outcome in the conclusion. Often that might just be, a transaction completed or a piece of information found. But thinking about that journey from when the user gets there to what they're looking for and to having that outcome in the end. Those are 3 things. Again, having a single director create the overall tone and feel, sticking to a product or a project that is coherent and cohesive, and taking the user on a journey. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.